playing with each other, being the same, you know, goofy kids doing wacky things. But as soon as we were called to the set and we had to work, you know, basically we were all good kids. We knew when to be professional, and then when we were done with our scene, we'd go out and, you know...
do kid things?
Oh, yeah.
Did you?
Yeah,
did you feel like
sure.
you were able to do that?
Oh, we used to play on the old western lot of Paramount, which is now a parking lot, and we'd be exploring all these different, somewhat condemned buildings, but, you know, we used to get into our own little forms of trouble.
Did you feel that you were still a kid, Mackenzie? You were how old about when
I
you
was 12 when I started working, when I did American Graffiti.
Right.
But One Day at a Time came along and I was 15. And, you know, it's kind of odd because, you know, going to school on the set and, you know, with Valerie Bertinelli and myself and a teacher in a room. And then during hiatus, I would go back to my regular school, which was a school for professional kids on Hollywood Boulevard, of all places. And so, you know, by the time I started going to high school football games with friends and things, someone said to me, "You mean you've never been to a school football game before?" I said, "Well, no, you know, it was never in my experience." And the way I always looked at it was that how could I miss something I hadn't known in the first place? Because I didn't know those things. Cheerleading, that type of thing didn't go on. So no, I didn't really
feel like
I didn't feel like a normal kid, but I didn't feel like I missed anything because my experience was just what it was.
Now, did you all choose, did the shows end, or did you choose to go off the shows? What happened there, Dana?
For myself, I got pregnant with my son, Tyler, and they let me go.
Okay. Mackenzie, what about you? What happened there?
I was having a very severe problem with substances, and I got suspended several times, you know, and then the producers would say, you know, you have to go and pull yourself together, and so I'd go and I'd have my teeth fixed, and I'd put on a few pounds, and eventually, and I'd come back and I'd say, I'm okay now.
Yeah.
You know, there weren't employee assistance programs, and they didn't send, you know, their child actors who were experiencing problems to therapists. They just said, go do something.
Yeah.
You know. So eventually I was fired. And then I was brought back about a year later, and then because I really hadn't found a foundation of recovery in my life, I was fired again. So that's how it ended
was for you. And what about you, Susan? The show
the show was canceled.
And there it goes. But, you know, we laugh about it, but you brought up the fact that this was also a family away from a family. How is that to deal with? Isn't that a sense of loss?
That's a part of the phenomenon of being an actor. I was talking to Ann B. Davis about this not too long ago, and I said, do you find it very easy to say goodbye to people? Because your experience as an actor is being like a family, and you're all so close, and you know what's going to happen. You don't even make the pretense of, you know, we'll keep in touch. If it's meant to be, you do. For me, it seems like we Bradys get together every so many years
Christmas
anyway.
special, huh?
Well, no, not always.
Oh, okay.
But, I mean, there's always something going on. And so in a way, it's kind of, it's changed me from my normal life because I don't find it very easy to keep in touch with people. I just expect, well, if they mean something in my life, I'll end up seeing them again. And
let me ask you what you just said about keeping in touch with people. Is it harder as a child and a young adult star, an actress, to make intimate friendships, to get close to people? Because you know, even in my limited amount of fame, about 2 seconds worth, people want to get to know you. People want you, like, as if there's something very special. And I wonder if, as a child, that might even be harder to get close. Speak to that, if you can. Go ahead, Mackenzie.
Okay, whatever, you can go. Go ahead.
No, I think that it's, you know, sometimes when you're in that kind of position, you wonder why people want to be friendly with you.
Why do they like me?
Yes,
Yeah.
But I think that, as with a lot of things, the things that are meant to last will, and the relationships that you do pursue usually turn out to be lasting ones.
Would you say
And for myself, I started acting when I was 6. And my mother made sure that I also had a quote-unquote normal child life as much as I possibly could. Like cheerleading, ice skating, gymnastics, stuff like that. And I kept my friends from grammar school. You know, so, and they accepted me for Dana. You know, when I left work at work. And when I went home, I was a kid.
Well, speaking of Dana, let me go a quick update. Give me a 20-second synopsis of where you are now, and kind of, we all heard things in the media, you know, about all of you, actually.
Right.
And I think it would be only fair, and it's not fair for me to say 20 seconds, but that's all we'll give you.
Okay.
Give me 20 seconds to try to tell me from where you came and where you are now, and then I want to ask everybody else.
Well, let's see. After strokes ended for myself, you know, I had 2 years. I had been married for a real long time. And I had 2 years with my son, and my husband left, and my mother died. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to deal with that. I had no life skills. You know, I was not taught any life skills, and I drank to kill the pain. And I drank, and drank, and drank, and drank, and drank. And, you know, I did.
Now, what did you do again? I missed that.
Yeah. I drank. And finally, I had to give up custody of my son because I could not help myself, you know. And I did. And I relapsed, you know, a few times. And then finally, you know, what happens is that you don't let anybody get close to you that can help you. You just don't. And so, you get yourself involved in relationships like I got myself involved in a bad relationship who enabled me to drink, who cleaned up my mess, so I could drink, you know.
And now where are you now?
Okay, and right now, I finally decided, you know, after relapsing, you know, I decided I want to be sober. You know, I want to live. I want to learn how to live. I want my life back.
But you know, and I applaud you for that. Mackenzie, in a nutshell, where are you now?
Okay, well, I'm clean and sober 3 years, and my life has changed dramatically. I never thought that I could live a day without drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
And I know that I have done this before, but I never got to a program. I never found what Dana's talking about until 1992. As far as my life goes, I have a wonderful son. I have a fantastic husband. I've been living on the East Coast in the mountains since 1986 in Pennsylvania and the Adirondacks. And my life is great, and I just decided, you know, I was at home in Pennsylvania folding laundry and taking my son to school and going to meetings, and I said to myself, I remember, I'm an actress. I love to act.
It didn't get out of your skin, did it?
No.
It doesn't get out of anybody's skin.
And I spent 10 years on the road with my dad and the mamas and the papas, and I ended that in 1992, and I've been out in L.A. about 6 months looking for work, and I just did a 90210 playing a drug and alcoholism intervention counselor.
Good.
And
good. Well, we're gonna explore more, you know, underneath a little bit more as we come back. But quickly, Susan, give me a thumbnail sketch of where you are now.
Well, I actually made a conscious decision to get out of acting. I wanted to lead a normal life. I'm very, very, very grateful that I did. I pursued a career as an artist, and at one time I was an art director and had people working under me, and I learned my life skills. I learned how to pay bills. It's a little bit difficult because as a child, like, my clothing was laid out for me. Dressing myself was one of the hardest things to do.
Well, let's hold on with me because we've got lots more to go here. Still ahead, the cutest boys from your favorite sitcoms, all grown up, including Dana's co-star Todd Bridges. We'll be right back.
All right.
Mackenzie Phillips and Susan Olsen. Thank you for being here. And again, that's from Different Strokes, One Day at a Time, and the Brady Bunch, and we all grew up with that, didn't we? Yes, and very, very popular. Could you find that there's a connection between the Hollywood lives that you led as kids and the problems that you struggled with until your success as young adults?
I stayed out of the Hollywood scene. You know, if I didn't have to go, like, to a quote-unquote party, you know, I wouldn't. My mother made sure that I was normal. The only thing that she did, the mistake she made, was kept me in a plastic bubble. So I didn't learn about reality and life skills.
So the plastic bubble was what? To protect you from
To
the
protect
world?
me from, I think it was that she was afraid I might be kidnapped.
Yes.
You know,
Okay.
that kind of thing. Right, she didn't, I mean, I had to be in very early in the evening. I had to be in before dark. I mean, she always had to know where I was at all times.
So then it's because of the high profileness of Hollywood and television, which were in everybody's homes every day?
Yeah, but still I did get to be normal. You know, I did. And just one thing I wanted to say really quick was that I've been sober now January 1st, 4 years.
Yay.
And thank you. Thank you so much. What I really want to say to people who are out there and suffering right now is that there is life after. and with a lot of hard work, you will, and I guarantee you, have a better life than you ever had before you got into the alcohol or drugs.
And before, when you said your mom protected you in that glass bubble,
yeah,
was there a sense also that perhaps that you were the reason why, that you were the meal ticket? That you were somebody
no.
Okay.
She was just very strict on me. She was very strict because she didn't want me to become a prima donna.
Okay, so you don't see it then as the Hollywood business and what they do to their children and the child stars as the reason why you had some issues?
No.
Okay. Mackenzie, what would you say to that? Would you say it's the Hollywood, or was it childhood?
It's both.
Yeah.
I think, but for me, and I can only speak for myself, I don't know. People protected me, but they protected me in a more of a financial way, you know? I mean, I had everyone taking care of everything for me. I had, and housekeepers,
Right.
and I grew up with housekeepers, and I never had to make my bed, and I never had to do any of those things, but I wasn't protected. I could stay out all night if I wanted to, but I don't think Hollywood chewed me up and spit me out. I really don't feel that way. I don't blame the business for my problems. I don't blame my family for my problems.
Well, blame's not a healthy thing anyway. It keeps us stuck.
Right.
But maybe it's an awareness of, yeah, some of the things perhaps that my parents felt were the right things to do, or their permissiveness, or their easygoingness, or their own issues or problems.
Right.
Did have a connection to my own problems. Is that true?
Oh, I think so. I think so. You know, I come from a long line of drug addicts and alcoholics, and I think that certainly there's a genetic predisposition.
Absolutely.
But I also feel like I couldn't, looking back, I mean, I couldn't expect my father to impose rules on me that he had absolutely no concept of.
Yeah, no clue.
And we're all on a journey of learning, you know. And I think that for me to waste my energy blaming Hollywood, blaming my family, blaming the people I work for my problems is absolutely fruitless, because it's not going to get me anywhere.
Good. It's time we stop being victims, isn't it? And start taking control. Susan, what about you?
Blaming something that was a good thing, you know.
So it was a good thing, your experience as a child?
Yes, it was. I'd have to say that it was a challenge, but like I say, I wanted to do it, and I think that I was very blessed, in fact, that all of us kids, I had 5 playmates growing up, and we were basically normal kids from the San Fernando Valley. We didn't have that, you know, Hollywood mom, whatever type of thing going on, and we had each other, and we kept each other normal.
There's so much attention put upon us as adults, even in this business, but especially as children. Where do your families fit in then?
I mean, my mother's my best friend today, and we get along beautifully, and she's given me so much in my life. And I feel that now I'm able to give it back to her. But she didn't go on auditions with me. She said, find someone else to do it, because, I mean, and she didn't say it in a mean way. But, and my father, you know, he just said, whatever turns you on. You know, I mean,
that was probably your father's mentality.
Exactly, very permissive, but I ended up having to learn to rely on my managers and agents and people like that to do things for me. And
but did you learn the right kind of people to choose? Did you all learn the right kind? So you were in a glass bubble. You had somebody who said, just go out and fend for yourself.
Right. You know, I think through trial and error. I mean, I had several situations where I've been taken advantage of, and in my 20s and 30s, I've had 35 now, thank you very much.
And looking gorgeous.
Thank you.
And looks beautiful.
And I've had situations like that, but I think that it's just learning, like you're saying, learning life skills. We weren't taught to live life on life's terms. We were taught that everything is yours and everyone's going to love you forever.
I imagine that as children you made a lot more money than most kids were making. Did you learn how to figure out how to save that? Or do you have...
See, my mother...
No, not at all.
My mother took care of my finances, you know, and it was put away, which I received when I'm 35. Yeah, which is but see, the thing about my mom...
We'll be sure to call you, Dana.
Yeah. What she did for me was, for every starring role I would get, okay, say like in a film or a good role in anything commercial-wise, anything like that, I would have to do 2 extra roles to realize that it's...
How does that feel to look at yourself, Mackenzie? I just noticed you on the monitor.
I look so sad.
Oh,
you look so much better now.
Yeah.
You do look beautiful, and you don't look sad now. That was a hard time for you, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
It really was. We had a question. Yes, ma'am. Come on up.
Susan, I want to know how you're doing now. There was something in the inquiry about you some time ago. Are you all right now?
I was never not all right. Those lovely people at the Inquirer, they got a hold of the court papers. I have a DUI, like half the country has. And I got it over a year ago.
And that's driving under the influence, for people who don't know.
I got a phone call from Barry Williams, my TV brother, and he says, Susan, the Inquirer's calling me. They're trying to do, I mean, this is how hard they try to fish for and fabricate a story. They're trying to say that you and I are getting loaded all the time, that we can't see each other anymore. I've never gotten loaded with Barry in my life. So anyway, all of the, you know, the only thing that hurts about something like that is that they fabricated their own. It said that a good friend said that I'd said these things. I never said any of that.
You really are under a microscope, and we said before we left that we were going to get Todd under a microscope. Talk to me a little bit, Todd. You know, we all have seen you and heard about the stuff that you've gone through and how hard life's been for you. Has it been...
You know, how hard I had made my life for me.
Talk to me about it. That's good. That's good. What was going on? What was going on inside of you that made your life so tough for you?
As a child, I was sexually molested and I was abused.
Wait. Let's back up, because that's a powerful thing to say. Was this by family members? Or?
No, it was by a friend.
How old were you when you were sexually molested?
12.
12.
And...
Did this go on? Was it a one-shot deal?
No, it was a couple times.
Did you ever talk to I'm not letting you off the hook here, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Did you ever talk to anybody about that, or you kept it in?
I do now.
Now, but as a child,
No.
you didn't wave a flag and say, somebody, look what happened.
Well, I told my mother, and I told my father, but my father didn't believe me, my mother did. I love my dad this very day, and I understand his own problems, but it was a lot of abuse going on in my household.
Physical?
Yeah, physical abuse.
Was it Dad's inability to hold on to his temper?
Yeah. And
you were like a punching bag.
Yeah, so even before the business, I was always in trouble at school. Business actually prevented me from getting in a lot of trouble sooner than I did. See, my mother the whole time was telling me, you need therapy. Go to therapy. And I was like, I don't need no therapy. I don't need therapy. So, you know, when the show ended and I was planning on going on vacation, I had realized I had got embezzled for a lot of money. And then now I had that problem to deal with. I had that problem to deal with, and I had all these other problems to deal with. So all I could do was take a destructive course, you know, because I hated myself at that point.
So you kept kind of reaching for the stars and sliding back and reaching.
Well, most of the time you don't get it the first time.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right.
Well, rather I didn't get it the first time, I didn't want it the first time. That was the whole thing.
Right.
I never wanted recovery until 2 years ago. I never wanted.
Why 2 years ago?
Because I was tired. I was beat up.
It's like enough is enough?
Yeah.
Something has happened inside of you that you had like an epiphany? That went, oh, this is it, babe. I got to get on with my life.
Oh, yeah. See, I also work in recovery today, and that's the thing.
Well, speaking of that, don't you also work in something very wonderful that you've founded? Is there something?
Yeah, I started a youth center. I think it was right after the riots.
Well,
the Youth Foundation.
Let me introduce this. What is your youth foundation called?
It's called the Todd Youth Foundation.
Okay, and do we happen to have somebody here? Stand up, both of you. Yes, this is Pastor Ernest Johnson.
Yes.
How do you do? And who is this young man? Hi.
My name is Robert.
Hi, Robert. Welcome. Tell us about this. Todd works hand in hand with your youth foundation?
Yes. Todd, I had a dream, always had a dream of a youth center, but I never put it into fruition because I pastor a church. And Todd joined our church, and the first Sunday after Todd joined our church, after receiving the Holy Ghost, he went next door into that space, and he said, hey, Pastor Johnson, we could start a youth center here. And the most amazing thing is the next day, he came down with his own Comet and gloves and got a couple of kids from the neighborhood and started cleaning the urinals and started cleaning it up. And that was the beginning of the Todd Bridges Youth Foundation.
There you go. That's good. That's helpful. Robert, are you a member of the Youth Foundation?
Yeah.
And has it been good for you, Robert?
Yeah, because Ernest worked with Todd Bridges and Youth Foundation, and I just joined. But Ernest, I was in a lot of trouble at school because some boys was after me real bad.
Yeah.
So he talked to me that night and prayed for me over the phone. I didn't go to school the next day because it was going to be trouble. And when I went back...
Welcome back. You'll remember my next guest as the little boy who was running on the beach in the courtship of Eddie's father. Please welcome Brandon Cruz. Brandon! Woo! Hi. Welcome. Oh! And we know him as Jody on Family Affair and as Tom Sawyer. He's still got that famous red hair. Please welcome Johnny Whitaker. Johnny! Oh, welcome, both of you. This is a thrill for me. I love this. I've grown up with you two. Brandon, what is with this purple hair first? I got to ask this. This is wild.
I'm only going to have it out for a little bit. I got a purple mohawk. I'm in a punk rock band, but
okay.
my grandmother watches, so this is for my grandma.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Thank you.
Probably yours already.
Anyway.
But, you know, I don't want to subject her to
So
it.
you're in a band. Tell me about how your life has been since the courtship of Eddie's father.
It's been strangely affected by Eddie's father and by the theme song for quite a while. My band, Harmful Swallow, just did a cover version of the song Best Friend that Harry Nilsson wrote.
Oh, I love
And I did it with Mickey Dolenz. And we sang together, and we had a piano and a nice little intro, and then this kind of a punk rock version. It'll be on a tribute album to Harry.
Has life been good for you, Brandon, really? I mean, we're talking about the problems and the struggles and the issues of being a Hollywood child actor, child star.
Well, Todd and I were talking about it backstage earlier that I really don't think the business did anything bad to me. I think it did a lot of good things for me. Like Todd was saying, the travel, the education. God, I was around the world twice before I was 10, and I studied history in Israel, you know, in a blown-up building from the 6 Days War.
Wow.
What kid got to do that? Hardly any. So I was very lucky, and actually it still opens doors for me to this day. I still know a lot of people in the business. I'm still in the business.
Is there any resentment at all when people talk about the old days, you know, and being so trademarked by where you come from? Is that Brandon?
The only thing that I don't like is when they say, you were somebody, weren't you?
Oh, gosh, right. That's a good point.
It doesn't bother me because I'm still working.
Yeah.
You know, I just got off 3 films. I have got a ton of projects coming up.
But you have to admit, everybody's going to know Dana Plato, Mackenzie Phillips, Susan Olsen, from where you came from, right?
I know that when I was in my self-imposed obscurity, when I was living in the mountains, and people would say, so, what are you doing now? My initial reaction, which I didn't always follow through, would be to say, none of your business.
Right, right.
You know? But I had to refine that into saying, well, you know, I'm raising my family and doing this and that and the other. But I think when someone approaches you with that, it brings a defensive reaction. For me, it does.
A lot of common folks can't imagine that there's anything better to do than acting. So if you say, I'm a very successful insurance salesman, they go, how sad.
Right.
Yeah, and that's not right. That's not right at all. The Olsen twins, two little girls that I've had the pleasure of working with
on Full House.
On Full House, Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. They're wonderful kids. Now, one of them, I can't say who, but one of them I don't think really wants to continue with acting. One of them really does. And their mother, who's very bright and knows what's up with the kids, I think is going to allow this, and that's great.
John, let me go to you for a minute. You said something that I read in my packet that you said that, Hollywood doesn't take care of its young. Is that true? Because we're hearing other sides of it. Talk about your feelings.
Well, basically, I mean, it's very difficult to get back into the business once you get out of it. As you try and get back into the business, even though they may not have seen you for 10 years, they look at you and say, oh, well, we know what you look like.
Right.
You know, we know what you do.
We already know you.
We've seen you. Thank you very much.
John, for you and your family, was it your decision, your choice, as everyone else said, to do this? And how was your family involved in all of this?
Always. It was always a family decision. I was given always the option of either doing it or not. When I did the series Family Affair, I had done The Russians Are Coming with Brian Keith just the summer before, and my mom said, hey, they want you to do Family Affair with Brian Keith. Remember the guy you were playing baseball with out in front of the, you know, and it's going to be a long time, and it's going to be all the time, and you might get very famous, and, you know, do you want to do it? Are you really sure? And I said, sure.
So it was pretty healthy. He was pretty healthy. Well, speaking of being famous, I know Brandon wrote a letter to a new famous young child star, and I think we would like to hear that from you if we could.
Okay, yeah. I was approached by a magazine to write a letter to Macaulay Culkin, because he's been having a little bit of problems, I guess, making that transition into, you know, he's almost a teenager now.
Right.
So I wrote, Dear Macaulay Culkin, puberty is a bitch, especially for child actors. Take it from me, the guy who played Eddie in The Court of Eddie's Father. Now that you're reaching that age, your voice is changing, you're a little gawky, and let's face it, you're just not so cute anymore. You have to start thinking about the future. You're bright and talented, but you can't be little Kevin forever. Because I've been there, and I'd like to pass on some advice to you. Here's where I get into my little 5-step thing of how to be a good kid actor. Number 1, take a step back and make sure you're doing what you want to do. When acting stops exciting you, push the pause button. It's not easy, but you can come back later. Look at Jodie Foster, Kurt Russell, Ron Howard, all people we probably worked with at one time or another. Number 2, go to school and take business classes. With the kind of money you're making, Macaulay, you're like a little corporation has to watch out for hostile takeovers. If you're not personally involved in the management of your own money, you'll lose it much faster than you earned it. Number 3, spend as much time as possible with friends who like you for you, not just because you're the guy who starred in Home Alone. Number 4, remember River Phoenix. I've dabbled in drugs, but I've also seen others go full speed right down the cocaine and Ferrari route, and they've instilled in me a fear of screwing myself up. You do have to prove that you're no longer cute little Kevin. You don't have to kill yourself doing it. And number 5, I told him to see his father objectively. It may not be a coincidence that his new video was getting even with Dad. And as a child, his first instinct is to trust the adults in your life. But your dad seems to be pushing you. True or not, make sure that he's listening to your needs, and if not, get a court-appointed third party to oversee your activities and trust fund. You should not become your family's meal ticket. So, Mac, have fun, and if you need an older brother in your next movie, hey, give me a call.
That's great. Thank you.
Have fun while you do it.
Yeah. Just a quickie about what you said about, get a third party. I wish that children had the ability to be able to speak up for themselves. But, our connection to our parents is so great that we never want to see that our parents sometimes may make the wrong choices for us. And that's where I think, we need overseers.
But he also, I think he's going to be, the reason why I would think he'd be all right if he doesn't get ripped off is that he is making way more money than any child star.
That's right.
That's right.
Like I said,
he's making $7 or $8 million.
Lose it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
$7 or $7 million.
Stay with me. We have lots of questions, so don't go away. Up next, the cute kid from the Donna Reed Show explains why he thinks you should keep your kids from Hollywood. Don't go away. How good. You look the same, John.
Oh,
cute as ever. We're talking.
A couple of hairs on the chest.
Woo! Now we have a new young child actor who happens to have. Who's your mom up there? Right
Mackenzie
there, Mackenzie Phillips. This is Shane. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Hi, Shane. Are you going to follow in Mom's footsteps? Do you want to be an actor? Are you acting now? Tell us.
I've only done one thing.
Yeah.
I did Full House. I was an extra in the bleachers.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun?
Yeah.
Did you get bored? Kind of oodgy, like you wanted to hurry up and go home?
My mom said she'd never seen me sit still in such a long period of time.
Do you think you want to do some more? You want to do some more acting?
I think Mom's going to get me an agent in a few weeks.
Oh, boy. Thank you very much. Joining us now is a man who starred as the son in one of TV's perfect families. You know him as Jeff on the Donna Reed Show. Please welcome Paul Petersen. Paul! Yeah! Welcome. Hi, Paul. Oh, I'm having like flashes. Donna Reed was like...
We all grew up together.
We sure did. Paul, you don't think that Hollywood's the best place for kids. Is that correct?
No, I don't. I'm not into recreational disputes, but forgive me, my position is pretty plain.
Yes.
I'm not worried about kids getting into the business. I'm worried about them getting out.
How do you mean?
Participation in this business affects everything. It affects your relationship with your parents, particularly if you're earning more money. It affects relationships with your siblings, because you're famous, they're not. Your professional career, which as an adult can last 50 years, will always be affected. Why? Because no matter what you do, as was stated earlier, someone will come and say, gee, don't you miss it? And in my own personal case, I'm an author of books, 16 published books. I'm proud of that. I worked hard to do it, and yet people still think that is not worth as much as being an adolescent on a television show, which says too much about our culture.
Yes, it does. And how does it affect you? How did it affect you?
Marilyn, I wouldn't want anybody to have my 20s. That's why I started a minor consideration. All these folks belong. Johnny is so active in it, and Brandon.
And
we try to help.
tell me what that is. What's minor consideration?
It's former kid stars helping each other. There is no institutional protection after the ball is over.
Right.
And that's where the problems come in. Look, the work is fun. As in Todd's case, it's a safe haven many times, because the work environment is better than the home environment. But what comes after? Parents are required by law to be with their children on the set. They must be within sight or hearing. They're not compensated. No wonder a stage parent is so disrespected. They ought to be paid. It's called slavery 100 years ago.
Yeah.
They should be paid.
Good point.
How come when a child has pension and welfare benefits, they can't claim the dependence of their parents? An adult can come in with 10 children. They get to claim dependence.
And the whole time that we were getting those benefits, we never used them because I was on my father's insurance.
Was any money saved for you?
Oh, well, there's another wonderful one, the Kagan law, the vaunted Kagan law, which only applies in the state of California and can be broken. You know, Todd, you spoke about the money Macaulay Culkin is making. Gary Coleman made $24 million, had nothing until he sued his parents and the business manager. So it doesn't matter how much you make, it's just more to lose.
But do you wish on some level that you never would have had that as a child?
Oh, no. Look, I can't not be who I am. I spent the years between 12 and 20 doing a television show.
Right.
If I told you otherwise, it'd be a guess. I'm content with my life.
Is there a common thread that you see with all these young people?
Fame. Fame is the drug. You bet. Well, that's why minor consideration works, why we're able to help each other. And mind you, I have my problems, and the relationship I have with John and Brandon and Todd and Dana helps me stay sober, too.
Right.
But
and you know
what we don't pretend is that we are anonymous. We're not anonymous.
Good. Well, you can't be anonymous.
Correct.
And you know what's really good is for kids like Shane and all the other kids who want to do that and come up, they're going to be protected thanks to people like you.
We're here. That's what we're working on.
Thank you.
Great.
Well, coming up next, you're going to find out which of your favorite shows I might have been on many years ago. Stay with us. Do you have a story like the ones you heard on today's show? If you'd like to share it with us, call
In your experience, I wonder if you have all found this true, that you are not considered to work for a living.
We've heard that one.
Thank you. Good question.
Yeah, we've heard that.
You've heard it.
Extremely hard and very long hours. Yes.
Like it's just a party, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
Not
Yes.
anymore.
Is there a plan for a reunion with any of the television shows?
Reunion.
I hope not.
I'd love to see a one-day-at-a-time reunion. I think it would be fun.
I would love to, yes.
I don't know that everyone is willing to be perfect. I am, and I know that several people are, but I don't know that everyone is.
Susan, you went, oh, no.
Well, there's just been too many. What I would like to see is actually a project that I'm working on, where I would like to produce a documentary on the Brady Bunch and show the people that actually played the characters. And I also have home movies of all of us.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
But another reunion,
Not so sure. Let me just quickly go over everybody and give me like our thumbnail. If you're financially, because everybody who's watching is going, oh, you made so many bucks. Are you financially solvent today? Do you feel good about where you are money-wise, Paul?
My books pay hefty royalties in August and February, and things are fine, thanks.
Good. How about you, John?
Fine. I've got my own computer consulting business that I do when I'm not trying to get work in the business as an actor and writer.
I got a dog.
Brandon! No, come on.
We don't get residuals, most of us. So
Isn't that
it's
horrible?
really...
Most of us, I think all of us.
Really?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I do.
I get it. Come on.
Okay, there you go.
That's funny. Yours was, you were much younger. It was way before that. That's too bad. That's too bad.
I'll make it again. I don't care.
Good for good attitude. And Todd,
That's
you're...
my saving my butt is the damn residuals,
Yeah.
man. That saved me.
Dana, what about you? Was it a saving your butt?
I'm working again, and yes, I'm
Once you
comfortable.
hit 35, you'll be even more.
Oh, that's right. We're going to be touching her at 35, huh?
Also, too, I have to say, hi, Tyler. I love you very, very much, and I'll see you soon.
That's a mommy for you. Mackenzie?
Well,
what
I
about
spend
you?
every penny that I ever earned from one day at a time.
All right.
And I have to tell you that I don't regret having done it. I mean, I wish I had been a little more spendthrift.
Right.
But I happen to have a really giving and fairly well-to-do family and a wonderful family that is helpful to me. And I get residuals still, and it's wonderful. And I own a piece of American Graffiti, and that's even better.
Good.
Wow.
Good for you. Susan?
There are no Brady bucks left
No
over.
Brady bucks. No Brady
I
bucks.
made a good living as an artist, and I feel just the way Brandon does, I will be filthy rich.
Good for you. Good attitude. Stay with us. We'll be right back. That is a good attitude. Bunch or whatever. Were you asked to be in that? Were you doing that? What's going on with that?
Actually, I was asked to do a cameo role, and I did my cameo, and whether or not the cameo's in the movie or not, I don't know.
Okay. And Mackenzie, we hear a lot about your stepsister, I believe, is China.
My half-sister.
Your half-sister, I'm
Yes.
sorry. And she's kind of gone through her own struggles as well, hasn't
Yes,
she?
she has.
Do you talk to her? Do you give her advice? I mean, you've really been there and you know.
Well, let's say that China got a handle on her problems many years before I did.
Yeah.
So consequently, I went to her for advice when I started to try and become well. China and I are very close. She is engaged to William Baldwin. And she's a lovely girl. We're good friends. When I first came out to California, I lived with her for several months. And she's great.
Good, good. Nice to hear. Well, I know everybody was waiting with bated breath, but I promised that I would just say that I have been on a few things myself. And the most beautiful thing to think about working like on a Mork and Mindy, which I did years ago and had fun, and a heart-to-heart and all those things, was really about that family feeling that we talked about that can't be denied. It is a wonderful feeling. I think for some kids, it's much more painful, though, when then they're finished with that and they go, who the heck am I? Who am I inside? What do I have to give? And in my case, I did that when I had a master's in social work, or was going past that to get, my degree in doing therapy. And I think for all people who are watching and parents who are out there watching, if your kid says to you, I really want to be an actor, I would support it. It's the most wonderful creative outlet. But I would also think that we need to support our children in developing themselves, developing not only internally who we are, but even maybe a second career, if you can. I mean, I struggled with that. I hated that I had to run to the mental health agency and then run an audition and run here, but in some way it centered me and allowed me to feel that I was in control of my own destiny.
Pretty bunch live